to toss up, so I'm just still going to be sharing things to Facebook groups, and you guys are just going to watch me do that real quick. Get that clean behind the scenes access. Get that look. We are just going to talk. John and I are going to just hang out for a little bit while the campaign ends and chit chat about our experiences during it. Celebrate with y'all. This is how we started the journey. It's like how we want to. Like John messaged me about it this morning, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do that. We probably should have already planned on it, which will probably be the story of our day. Like, we probably should have already planned on that.
Oh boy.
But yeah, we'll talk about what we thought went well, what we struggled with, some things outside of our control that may have mattered, but may not have, and we're just telling ourselves to feel a little bit better about everything that's going on, or somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But also, more than anything, just like celebrate with you pretty people.
That the most. Also, I think that this, like, I remember you mentioned this when we did the first stream. We opened the campaign. I did a stream when I launched Token Terrors because I just wanted people to hang out with me while I freaked out.
Yeah.
And we did that for the opening. I think that most creators should do this, especially smaller creators should absolutely do this. Bigger ones too should have a live stream happen when the campaign opens, when it closes. It's such a good way to like let people see who's behind the project and like have an honest conversation about what they're doing, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, like celebrate. Like if we know that a big part of crowdfunding is actually, like building your community. Like, how do you galvanize those communities? Like, how do you engage them? How do you celebrate with them? Those are all things that we should be considering. And this morning, that's what John and I want to do. After I'm done, putting this in a bunch of groups. But if you have questions about the campaign and you're watching out there live right now, go ahead and toss them in the chat. I would love to hear your questions, love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to respond to them. I've got a couple more I'm going to do this in. Share to a group.
I should have copied down all of the I should have copy and pasted all the copy I wrote last night for the stretch goals in Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do that because I wanted to get them closed before the campaign was over. Two of them still remain because somebody got them.
Yeah, we were messing around with our post-campaign manager. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, too, what you guys can expect from that.
Are we putting special edition acrylic chits inside of the dice kits?
We had not talked about that. We need to do a cost comparison on that. I'd love to go ahead and get some, at least for you and I. And if we're going to do that, we're going to have some extra, like, it's probably going to go ahead and make sense to toss a few in there. We'll look at, I think we can share that out as an idea. Like I said, I don't think it'll break us one way or the other.
Sure.
Use feed. Nope. Share to a group. All right, this is going to be the last one that we're going to chat. I'm going to get this in Terrible Games.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Hang with John and Tony. Ben, it's going well. Thanks for watching us over on YouTube. And thanks for being here the last couple of days, especially yesterday having you here when we were talking about some of the not so fun things going on in the Kickstarter community. It was good to have you here with us. Out. We that's everybody. All right, let's get this popped up. We've got 22 minutes to go on the campaign. I think we're both doing well. I mean, like at the end of the day, there's always things you wish you did more, different, better, whatever. That we are going to talk about those things, and I think that's a big value of this conversation. If you're a creator out there watching, if you're one of the members of the community, a backer, like really, we just wanted to come and be able to spend time with y'all. And so, but it's going good. Like we have a very successful Zine Quest project that's finishing up funding. Also, our lives can stop being immediately obsessed with a Kickstarter project, which is always a good thing. Like there's a level of freedom that comes with being released from the green.
Hey, there's $4,500. That's nice. That's a nice.
Hey, look at that. And like I said, hopefully this little bit will keep on going up. We have had some in there. You know, we talked. You know, somebody referred to this as the Vicinda finish, which is humbling, but also it's not at all something I came up with. This is a commonly known thing in the board game industry, that you get about 30% of your funding day one, 30 to 40%. 30 to 40% in the last 24 to 48 hours, and then you get the rest of it in between. Which actually I would say I don't think is the actual trajectory of our game. We've definitely had a pop these last 24 to 48 hours, but it's probably like 10 to 15%.
Yeah,
maybe 20. I haven't sat down to math it out. Probably about 20% of total, I think.
Yeah, the conventional word of thumb is that you basically double whatever you make in the first 48 hours at the end, but in the 2 campaigns I've run, that wasn't true.
Yeah, I think a big deal is like, I think this is something, John, something we nailed in Repugnant was we had done a good job of showcasing the art, talking about the game, like letting people in our community and beyond our community who are going to become members of our community know about the game, what it had, and get them excited. And we did something to incentivize day one backing, a couple small things that were not flash goals, which I'm not a fan of. And people just showed up in that first 90 minutes, hung out with us, and like backed. Like we got people to click back day one, which is the thing you want to do. 100%. And so I'm going to make a couple notes here real quick about things I want to remember to talk about.
Man, wouldn't it be something else if in 20 minutes we were able to bridge that gap to 5K? That would be amazing.
If anybody wants to, if 2 people want to go change their pledges to Wanton War Wastelord Wads, we'll get there. But here's the thing, we're not worried about it. So let's start there. So like, we already committed, John and I, we sent out an update to backers yesterday that we're going to go ahead and proceed as if the 5K stretch goal had been unlocked. If, as we know that in the pledge manager after the campaign, we're going to hit that 5K mark. And so we wanted to make sure people who went in and backed at that higher level, even though the value is already there with the extra chits, with the adventure module, with the with those 2 things, like that difference in valuation was already there. We wanted to keep that strong for people because we want people to not feel like, oh, I was thinking I was going to get this map printed. So there's a little bit of a tactical thing there, but the biggest thing is we just know we're going to get there, and it seems fine to go ahead and honor like the commitment that all of our early pledgers made to thinking we were going to get there, and all their support and sharing and putting things out. So
we're close enough. I'm pretty committed also to because we're gonna have, what's the artist's name again? Kyle
Latino. Kyle's got a book called, this is another like, he's got a book called The Savage Beard of the She-Dwarf. It's a comic. It's on Amazon right now. It's about the last dwarf, and she is going around looking for an ancient dwarven kingdom, and it's about immigrants losing their culture and trying to recover it. Like that's kind of the concept. It's really heavy, but it's also just a super delightful thing. And the very opening is a beard wrestling scene where she ties her beard off to somebody else and rips it off their face. But it's there's so many things I want to work with Kyle out of the future. But yeah, the Kyle Latino did the Old Roads map project, and he is a map guy, and mapping is a very different type of art. And he does a phenomenal job at it.
It totally is. I'm not really good at it because the scaling is such a pain in the ass. However, I am like 90%, but I'll promise. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do some isometric maps for the back. We haven't even talked about that part yet. Like, I think we just pitched it's a world map. I don't think we talked about the ISO stuff, and we'll have you probably do an ISO for the Yetchi's Hole also too. And so Yetchi's Hole. I want to do my scrapyard cubed car underground labyrinth idea.
Yeah. So we'll see a couple of other things come out of this. Oh, look, we got a few more backers. There we go. Last 20 minutes coming in strong. Thanks everybody. If anybody out there is backing right now, great. Thank you so much. If you haven't yet, that's totally fine also too. And if you backed it again, I want to say, like, if you backed it $1, like, we're just incredibly grateful. So we're going to go ahead and act as if that stretch goal was fully unlocked. Because again, we might get there, like, live. We might not. It's fine. But like, we know we're going to get there. Like, we know that people want those
$400 away right now.
People want those pizza boxes. people want those dice packs. People want all that stuff. Hey, thanks, Ben. Ben upped his pledge $5. Bob the Tree, new backer, happy to help. Great job on a wonderful campaign. Thanks, Bob.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ben. Thanks, Mark. Please consider some short stories and comics. Oh, don't tempt us. So here's what I think. I 100% think, and I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I think we'll probably do another small pub in Repugnant. Like, at least we'll do a few more classes. It probably will be. Somebody asked yesterday if it'll be free digital content. You guys, I will say this: backers will probably get some of that content for free. One of my big things is valuing John's time as a collaborator, and one of John's big things is valuing my time as a collaborator. My time is a little bit less fungible than John's time. Well, I guess our time is equally fungible. John's skill set has a more pronounced concrete outcome than mine does in the short term. So it's easier to mark hours on. So the biggest thing is like considering what it takes John to create content. But like, so when we talk about comic stuff, I would love to do some comics. I would love to do some stories. I would
Not
love to
me. Sorry. You know what? Look, I actually, one of the reasons I became an artist is because of comics. All right. My origin story for wanting to become an artist was me looking at the 1992 X-Men threefold cover that Jim Lee did when the X-Men came back. So I love comics and I've done them, and they are more work than most things you do in art. It's just a lot. I could maybe do like a 4-page mini for Repugnant if the community really cries out for it, but I definitely would not. I could not make any promises.
Oh, I don't think a full comic. Yeah, I think a sheet, like a mini that tells some sort of little narrative story that's a cool little intro would be a fun thing for the next campaign. Like,
yeah.
We've got some people saying, so that was from Mark, Bob's the news backer, Michael, who, by the way, if you guys have enjoyed the live streams that I do, you guys should thank Michael Marchand. Michael Marchand was my business partner for the last 6 years. We've been working on projects together for almost a decade now, but we were doing streaming once a week on things before it was cool. Michael has taught me so much about how to stream, what to stream. He was always kind of the one who figured out the tech stuff, and then I just got to do it. But our setup and how good it looks and all that kind of stuff because I worked with Michael for the last 6 years, and he's just a great guy.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, and so, but he backed last night. Thanks, buddy. John updated his pledge another $10. He's crying out for that comic also too. That's all future conversations, but we'll do some more classes. We'll do some more adventures. I think for me,
let's talk about them. Can we talk about the new classes
we can talk about some of the new classes, though I don't have my notes in front of me anymore. But I do want to say, if we come back, I think for me, one of the bigger things will be I want to come back with the intent to make the soundtrack happen. Like, that be the thing we come back to really kind of fund around. And so like an expanding the crust, kind of concept, or, we'll figure out maybe a little bit more thematic term for it. But
well, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe a pre-constructed party of 4 that's a band inside of the world of Repugnant, and that's their demo tape, and they're trying to take it around from gig to gig.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we'll do like just a whole music theme. That came up. We could take Flush and make Flush the band.
That was such a great thing.
In our actual play the other night, Hawk A. Loogie, who was the Meat Sack Slymore, he was from whatever Connecticut is on this world, because it's not the same as our Connecticut. But he was a big Flush fan, and
it's spelled with a PH.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal. They went to what ended up being a dive bar, even though it didn't start out that way. Dug through the toilets a little bit, and then looked around and read some of the graffiti on the walls for inspiration, and talked about Flush a lot. It was great. So yeah, the 2 ones we talked about, because we went back and forth. We definitely want a raccoon race, and I think we'll probably like open up raccoons / possums. Like, I don't know that we're gonna do.
Yeah, I was thinking that would just be like, I kind of wanted to change the name of the vermen, because the operative word men within it, even though there's 2 genders or a spectrum of genders within the world of rat people and just in general Repugnant. So yeah, we can
certainly go with verman, with that being a portmanteau of human and vermin.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Which, I mean, I don't know that it communicates that well, but I'm fine making that change. I don't think I don't think anyone's going to be upset.
I don't know. I was thinking about, we could call them varmints, or like calling them varmints makes sense to me, because then instead of it wouldn't be like, it would basically have the same tenets. Because what changes if you're a raccoon versus a rat? The prehensile tail thing, I guess, might be a little bit different. Like, it's just an aesthetic choice. I don't think it has very much implication in mechanic.
No, but I mean, I think it does. I think it'd be interesting to, I think that's kind of the fun, like opening up that there are varmints, I think is fun. And then saying that here are the 3 types of varmints. But I also then feel like, is it a diminishment of their races? This is all fun, weird world building conversations, by the way, guys. These are the kind of things you get into. I was even messing around with like, do we call them races last week? Or do we call them like evolutions? Like which I feel like evolution and mutation plays in the same kind of realm. But it also gets us away from like some of the stuff that's problematic about race as a concept within RPGs, and what that means. And so I don't know, like those are some fun things that you guys will probably see in the final version of it that we'll kick around and mess around with. I think naming right now, even that, like, yes, rat people are part of a larger kind of varmint like culture. I think is an easy thing to go ahead and name. But yeah, but and maybe they're mostly the same, but maybe it's like it's one has tail, one has pocket, because I feel like one of those 2 at least is a marsupial.
Possums have little guys that, like, the little baby possums right on their backs. Possums are actually kind of sweet creatures. All of these animals are actually all very nice and cuddly.
And so it even leaves a space for like squirrels, which I don't know that we're interested. Pigeons is another thing that I'm like, what happened to pigeons? Because it's another like trashy animal that I'm just super.
Oh, I mean, seagull, pigeon, some sort of, can we mix 2 birds together for a trash bird?
I think we could. Oh man, a trash, just calling it trash bird. That's super interesting.
I kept on kicking around this idea for something called a house fly. That was a fly that was the size of a house, and it just never really came together.
Oh man, as a monster or as a even as like a transport thing, that's interesting.
Yeah, mounts totally was a mount.
Mounts is another big question. So like, there's plenty of big things, and like that's the hard thing. Like, I took the role of this project of like. John and I are both people who will happily riff on ideas forever. I took the role of whenever John came up with an idea being like, we can do that, but here's what that means we have to do when it came to a lot of stuff. So again,
I am adding horsefly though, and that is going to be a mount. Horsefly will just be a fly that has horse's legs and is the size of a horse, but can also fly. This is the Repugnant's answer to a Pegasus.
There we go. So what was the best project to learn about during Zine Quest during my live streams? Did you meet new creators through? So that's for me, Zine, and I'd love to hear the same from you, John. What's a cool project you discovered? A lot of the ones that I was most excited about are some of the more ones I've still been excited about the entire way through. You did hang out with Ava Islam, who did Errant last week, was really cool. I will say this. Blood Feud that I played last Saturday, it's an exploration of the concepts of toxic masculinity through Viking culture, does exactly what I think a good heady game should do, and it like sits with you for a while. It's emotionally challenging to play the characters. It's emotionally impactful to go through the game. So there's that one. John, do you have a project that Zine Quest besides Repugnant that really stood out to you as like one you loved?
I mean, I had to back Gobsmacked.
Oh yeah,
Gobsmack on site because it's a goblin-centric supplement for just doing cool goblin stuff. I think it's a 5e. It's a 5e thing. It had a bunch of really good artwork. On that one, I kind of wish that the creator had led more with the amazing art that I think he commissioned from like a really well-established artist.
Mark's in the chat right now. It was a great project. Yeah, I because the what sold me was the cover image that he had posted up in the RPG Zines community a while ago. And actually, I don't know that I featured it on air. No, I did feature it on air, but I'd already seen enough of the art that I may have glossed over that, because I agree. The opening image of like them all standing on the street corner and this like kind of butcher shop logo in the background. Yeah, there was
this like curved ball perspective going on. It had really good, all the artwork that I saw for that one was great. Also, Token
looks so good.
Yeah, Token grabbed me. Looks dark. If it's a duet game, Tragic Fix and Twine in the Dark Woods, one shot, GM-less. Boom.
Yeah, it's two-player. One person's the creature, one person's the hunter, and you're exchanging mementos. It's got really strong, evocative, symbolic play, which I love from a narrative component. I'll have Gabriel on sometime next month, hopefully during the day, to play it. And just
I saw the word token and I was like, huh?
Yeah. I got to play so many great games. It's really hard to choose just one, though. Like, I'm trying to think about what games surprised me. Yesterday, the Divorce of Druids as a cut destroy game as you go really surprised me and kind of blew my hair back a little bit. I loved that Steve Jackson Games got in on the excitement and brought back some really cool stuff from back in the past. I love seeing bigger titles do even shorter campaigns. It was a 4-day campaign. Or 5-day campaign, and they came in at the end, not at the very end when a lot of people are like really struggling, but like right middle quietly. They didn't do a big push in any of the communities. They brought eyes from their community to Zine Quest, which I really appreciate. So yeah. What about doing general mammal class, avian, insect, and then small table to color them or add on? I think for NPCs and some other stuff we will, and then we'll see what people respond to. Our hope for Repugnant is kind of to open things up really to hacking, both the system itself as an SRD, but also the setting. We'll probably do a jam, which is just a game making like month, sometime in the next few months. Probably once we know 100% what our ship date is, we'll probably do a jam right around that time, so that people can get the game, read the game, and then sit down and make stuff that they love for the game, and then kick it back and say, here's something I made, and we can talk about as we're going forward. Is it just John and I who go into that expanded stuff, or do we focus more on adventure things, but take some of the content that like other people in the community have made and pay them something for it, obviously, and then be able to do a little bit of an anthology concept around that. A lot of it could be cool. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot for us to do. The biggest thing that has to happen now, John's done with most of the art. I've got to sit down and knock out about 2 pages a day for the next 10 days, most of which is done, but I'm just going to make sure it's at editable stage. Then we've got to kick it to an editor. We'll do a couple of readers first, and then we'll kick it to an actual editor to take care of, and then it'll be ready to ship. So there's a lot of really cool stuff.
John has got to dig into some layout too.
Yeah. Well, and like
also,
as I do those pages, we'll kick it over to him for layout right away.
And that's the other stuff too, is I know that working on layout for the Token Terrors rule booklet, there's going to be these parts where there's going to be like some space that needs to be filled because we can't break a paragraph. So I'm looking forward to coming up with little weird monsters to just, maybe a pile of junk that represents some equipment that people can get, or just a piece of side scenery that we can pop into those little bald spots in the inside of the book.
Even like the table headers, like what you did with the character sheet was so good that like I can't wait to see how we apply some of that aspect to the general layout also too once it's done. So it'll be kind of this back and forth process, but the next month or so, really the action is to me and Johnny to get that stuff taken care of, and then we'll kick it back over to John for a little bit more art. And then we'll get it edited and send it to print. I mean, it's not like that editing process can happen fairly simultaneously with the art. So it's not like we're actually like very close to game being done and finished. Once we have whatever the final rules are, we'll want to play it a few more times. It'll all be public plays. If you want to come back and play with us, like you can. We'll happily have people who are backers come in for some of that stuff. But yeah, we did mess around. Actually, some people have one person at least already bought a shirt and some other stuff. People who backed. We were messing around with the Kickstarter add-ons thing, which I think if we had wanted to do, we really needed to do at the beginning of the campaign, because it wouldn't have worked for you guys. So we'll have everything in Pledge Manager. We've got the shirts. We've got the pizza boxes that come with an adventure. We've got the dice bags. We've got prints that'll be available also too. We've got the Yechi's Hole module. We've got the map. We are going to print some acrylic chits. We may have some extra of those also too. But we'll have a lot of stuff that you can get as add-on things. We'll also be putting copies of Beards and Beyond and John's Game Token Tiers in. We'll be able to ship Beards and Beyond with Repugnant because it's already in print. Token Terrors will probably be when did you guys delivery date on that?
Maybe the end of the summer.
Yeah, so we'll probably ship those separately. So that'll be a separate shipping.
You know what? I might, since you have the ability to do, I don't want to hold up this getting going out on the tail of on the tail of Token Terror. So I'll probably just take that off. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to do that because I don't want to have this project be sitting because we're waiting for a giant manufacturing order to show up from China.
That's true. We've got 105 seconds left. In case anybody wonders, it does count down the seconds when you do a campaign. But like it's been an absolute it's been a blast. So a couple things that were out of our control that happened right at the very beginning of us launching our campaign. Texas, California, and Northern California and Portland were all shut down, and we're not open. And I'm from Texas. I lived in Seattle. I have a lot of friends in Portland and Northern California. That impacted things. But we had a phenomenal 2 first days of funding. You guys showed up in droves to support us. We really appreciate it. The last 2 days have been somewhat overshadowed by a big dumb thing that we talked about yesterday on stream called Perfect RPG. That was a fiasco. And nowhere near as good as Fiasco the game. Oh, it turns red in the last 60 seconds.
There's going 50 seconds left, counting down.
And so, John, hey, John, thanks for being here. Yeah, and so like we said, we're going to go ahead and still be honoring it as if we had gotten to 5K because we know that in Pledge Manager, which Pledge Manager will go out in the next week or two. What do we think,
I'd say 2 weeks is safe. We might be able to get it out before that.
But that's because their team actually helps build everything in for us, which means that it just takes time because we got to work with them to make sure all that stuff happens.
As soon as we turn over copy for the pledge or for the add-ons, and then we give them a shipping rate, they'll be able to auto calculate. We have to upload the email addresses. It'll actually, if they jump on it and build out the page for us, it'll probably only take a couple days. We could have it out in a week. But Pledge Manager is awesome. They're really, really good.
Yeah, and affordable. Like that's the other thing. So the reason we didn't want to, the other reason we didn't want to do. We're free from the green, baby.
Yeah.
Hey. One of the reasons we didn't want to just do everything through Kickstarter, you lose about 10%, which essentially for some of the things is like paying for manufacturing twice, or more. Like, you know, for a little print module, most of what goes into a print module is mine and John's time. Like an RPG, it's more than that. RPGs cost a little bit more, but like a 1 or 2 page print, it's mine and John's time that go into it. And so the doing it in Pledge Manager allows us to not lose 10% of the money every single time we do it. So
yeah, for anybody curious, the way that it works there is it's 25 cents per backer to onboard it and get the thing set up. And then I think that might be it, or maybe and then it's 5% of everything processed through them that doesn't come directly from a backer.
Yeah. So we basically save it's half the cost for us essentially. About. And so it's not a huge cost either way, but it is about half the cost. And so, which is a lot of all the different pledge managers monetize in different ways. If we had been because I remember seeing a warning that saying we weren't eligible for add-ons, but I would have tried the add-ons feature on Kickstarter for this campaign just because it's a little bit more containable than something seeking upwards of $10,000. Because the ping on percentage, if it's 10% across the board, including add-ons, probably wouldn't have been too bad, but it's fine. It'll maybe some other time. Maybe next season. I think whenever we do our expanded Repugnant whatever, I think I stated earlier, like I probably won't ever be one of the primaries on a Zine Quest project again. Even if we do Repugnant, we could do it during Zine Quest 4, but I don't have a specific desire to. There's no particular reason. I don't think there's a reason for us to. I really do like the idea of Zine Quest being more about first-time creators or established creators doing something unique or new. So doing it for the first time, I think makes sense in Zine Quest. Doing it for the second time, it's like, let's launch it whenever. Like whenever we think is best for us and whatever makes the most sense. We don't have to do it in the middle of this event. And so
it does bring all the boys to the yard, though.
Maybe.
I think it does. I think Zine Quest absolutely has people like, all right, if they already know about Zine Quest, then they're getting their wallets ready.
I think there's that. I think a lot of that, if we know like a few months in advance, though, like I think the bulk of our backers came from our work of putting it out there. Sure. I think some came from Zine Quest, but I think because of the polarizing reality of our theme, like most people either really love this theme or they are like it was that one I sent you that we met Vic through. Who played with us the other night, where Vic was totally into this idea, like overly so. And then like one of her people was like, no, I spent 5 seconds on that page and I could not. And then the other person was like, yeah, like this is all technically really good, but also not for me. Right. And even like my good friend Tyler over from the Brain Trust community. Oh, wait, was it Kurt? Kurt was like, the mouse picture is what got them. Like when they saw the character art you had done and they saw like the as gross as this world is, like the kind of vulnerability and the realness and the fact that it was like this night-like looking like creature who was just a rat also too. Like that's what sold them on the game, realizing that it wasn't just like, I mean, it is a lot of gross stuff, but it's not just gross stuff. Like this is they were like, I already knew the art was good. I already knew that the system was going to be good. It just wasn't whatever until I saw that picture, and then I wanted to back it. And so,
You were talking about our backer pool, and I am very proud to say that you are pretty much on the nose. 54% was pledged via Kickstarter. So that could be Walker, that could be walk-ups, for lack of a better term. 45% pledged from external referrers, which we can attribute to our own community of people in our, our personal networks, which is awesome.
Yeah. And so, and even that 50, like, I really wish Kickstarter was better about like, was this from a search? Was this from they were cruising through?
They have the referrers, or there's a subtable underneath of all of the data.
There's a
pie chart.
That's not private data. You guys want to see the scope of our thing? Like huge hump right at the very beginning. This is what you kind of expect and want to see. Massive leap surge that first day, kind of consistent hump up, stall out here in the middle, right? And then we got a little pop. Usually you want to see this go, just a little bit higher. I mean, you always want to see things go higher, right? But let's see. So we had direct traffic, no refer information, external 39 pledges, which is the biggest percent. Facebook 13%. Kickstarter search, which means that they saw it somewhere else and then came here to do it. Almost 9%. Email backer friends notified of their pledge.
Twitter coming through.
Yeah. Twitter big. Yeah. Advanced discovery. What is advanced discovery? Oh, that's them.
Three riddles first.
That's them. No, advanced discovery. No, I'm not looking at that information right now. Advanced discovery is them scrolling through on the like, hey, I'm looking for Zine Quest, projects here. Twitter, email, Google searches, other email, internal post discovery profile.
Good. It's a good spread. It's a nice cornucopia of backers for 282 video plays. Yeah. I like it.
And here's the thing I'll say, this 30% conversion rate on project followers, that's actually really good. Like
that's damn good.
That number is usually significantly smaller. Like 15% is not uncommon. Like that's almost twice what you'll see on a lot of followers, especially for a project this size. And that means, let's see, that about half of our people were following the project, and then about half of them saw it and came here to buy it. A little bit in favor of following. A lot of video plays, which is solid. Very few offsite video plays, which I don't think we really put it a lot of other places. And then most popular level was the Encrusted Edition, which this is I think a good lesson for other creators out there. Like our $15 you just got the thing was not our most popular level. This was the same thing for me last year with Beards and Beyond. It's one of the reasons why we did this. That $25 level where you're giving them something of very obvious and added value is really attractive to the majority of your backers, or at least a significant plurality. We had a good number of retailers, more than I had last year, which I'm really grateful for. And hopefully we'll get more of those in the PM also too. And I bet you some of those will also up their pledges or want more advanced pledges in the back end also too. And then we didn't have any of our ultra premium level. We probably should have priced that about $100 cheaper. Like, and we could have, some of that was, there were still a couple math pieces we were waiting on to fall into place on that. But that's a live and learn. I did a $200 one last year, and we got all of them went. I think even this year doing a $200 one may not have been, oh my gosh. Why won't this open? There we go. Give me some more. Can we bring the coffee pot? I think, that maybe a $200 limit on that. It might be, clarity on value proposition. There might be a number of things that won't go into that. It might just be a harder year for people to spend $300 on.
Yeah.
So John Spencer found out about it through Token Terrors. We got a member of the Terrible Games community.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing I'll say. We saw we saw very few dropouts, especially at the end. Like, our backer level maintained. A lot of people in the last 24 to 48 hours, when they get the reminder emails, they'll start dropping pledges because they're overextended, because they can't do it. They backed early because they wanted to help, but like, now that it's funded, they're not. Like, we had, and I don't want to, I'm not going to blast anybody, but like, yeah, we had very few red, and most of it was in the early to middle fades, and a lot of people were like bounced out and bounced back in, right?
Mm-hmm.
We saw a number of people who did that. I will say this, there was one person who was like bouncing out, bouncing in, bouncing out, bouncing in, to the point where I was
never
like,
know.
are you a bot? Are you a backer? What have you done? And so, we'll see what comes up. So, but yeah, it's been a blast. John, let's actually talk about what's next for Terrible Games and for Plus One. So we know that next, like, I'm gonna be editing the game, doing more writing. Johnny's gonna be working on layout. We'll kick it back over to you to art. We'll get it edited. It'll go to print. But for Terrible Games, you guys actually have a couple projects in the works that I think are just super cool. And when I come down for us to pack and ship this, I can't wait to actually play, because almost all of them have to be played in person.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about what's coming next from Terrible Games.
So we're actually having a convo about that, because I was looking at what Gabe Barrett did with the Hunted series. I just started seeing pictures of people receiving their copies of Hunted, which is a really cool anthology of solo player games that are themed after big blockbuster movies, without being directly tied to the IP. So it's just overarching themes. Like, I think the first one's called like Kobayashi Tower or something. It's basically Die Hard.
You get the feel very clearly without it.
Yeah,
actually,
you're like, this is the Aliens plus the Thing, the board game solo adventure, right? So as soon as I started seeing those, I'm like wondering where my pledge is at. But he launched the third installment called Woad Ridge, which is a kids on bikes solo adventure kind of thing with an alien sidekick. And I've seen this done a couple times, and I started thinking like, man, we would be wasting a really big opportunity to not have the follow-up to Token Terror Season 1 happen within 4 to 6 weeks of people receiving their copy of the game. So we're going to pivot a little bit. Initially, I had thought that we weren't going to do anything again until October, but with those possibly delivering in June or July, August, September, probably sometime before the fall sets in proper, I would say probably September, we're probably going to come with the Season 2 and Season 1.5 expansion for Token Terrors. And then we have this other game called Black Mold, which is a 1 to 4 player subterranean prison compound escape game where your turn lasts as long as you can hold your breath, because you're surrounded by poisonous, hallucinatory black fungal clouds that are being emitted from the fungal growths that are throbbing on the hallways to all directions. You can't see anything, so you have to feel around these areas. You're holding your breath. You're having these cognitive tests, trying to link cards together and make these tableau of cards to create a neural path so you can navigate the areas you're in while looking for items to make it so you can defend yourself against other prisoners that have already died and been taken over by the fungal infection and turned into fungal thralls. So we've been playtesting it like crazy. We were going to do it in October, but we're probably going to need to pace that out a little bit further away from the Token Terrors campaign. And then, I got some other stuff kicking around. I'm talking about publishing a game for this dude in Australia who has this really cool game called Bellum that needs a little bit of mechanical massaging, but the artwork is absolutely gorgeous, and it's a card game, so that should be like a pretty small campaign. I got another thing called Warhorn, which has a complimentary app where it's a quick draft, a timed quick draft game where you build an army very, very fast with all kinds of take that stuff happening during this draft where you're scrambling to draw off the top of the deck against your opponents. And then you go into a battle phase where there's a match or exceed and asymmetric ability based on faction kind of thing. Again, it's all cards. There's like literally no hard components. It's a box full of paper. So we have some smaller stuff, and just staying active, and me and the team are just like real excited to see if we can. We have to hustle now to get the Season 2 stuff ready, like the box design and a bunch of other things.
Yeah. And John's always looking for play testers for different stuff. So if you're ever interested in playing some Token Terrors, hit him up and let him know, and he'll get you queued on that. It's an absolutely phenomenal game, and I can't wait to see what keeps on happening with it. It's actually really funny. Like, we did this. I have not been able to push the fact that we launched Beards and Beyond at all. Like, because I just wanted all my energy going into this. Not that at all. Like, we did a little bit, but we haven't run ads. We haven't done anything else because we were waiting. So my first game from ZingQuest 2 just printed and is going out to backers right now. Some people have already got it. There was a holdup at the warehouse for about 50 of those orders, so those will be matriculating out. And some people have already picked them up separately, but we've got about 400 copies of that. Our fancy Kickstarter edition, and then a bunch of the normal ones. And actually, I'll be honest, I like the normal ones the way we printed them a little bit better. But the bigger ones are technically a higher quality print and have some extra content in them. That if I reprint any of them in the future will be different. But we're going to be doing some more Beards and Beyond content this year. We're creating an SRD, a system reference document for Beards, and we'll do a Beards and Beyond jam probably in the next few months. The biggest thing for us has also been figuring out how we're continuing to make content sustainable for +1, how we continue to help support other creators along with doing our own games. We're going to do an anthology of Beards and Beyond adventures. I'm going to have a bunch of different creators all kick in 2-page adventures. Some of them are artists, some of them are not. So it'll be a mix of things there. We'll have a bunch of different people kind of putting hands on that project, though, and hoping to pull from a kind of a global audience for that. And so that's coming up for us. We'll do the digital release initially, and then we'll do a Kickstarter for a print copy probably later on this year or early next year. But Eric Street and I just started talking about a game that the theme is really fun. I think we may hack the covered in shit system for it, but we'll probably add a few different elements on as a mini game. But it's basically you're playing in a fantasy kitchen. It's a fantasy kitchen dungeon crawler. So you're all different positions in this fantasy kitchen, and your refrigerator. Instead of opening up and being like a normal walk-in fridge, it opens up and walks down into this dungeon where there's all these different creatures and kind of food-based things that you have to go down,
Farm to table,
and slaughter and bring back the ingredients up to serve your meal. No one is a head chef. The head chef is kind of like the GM. There's no one's a sous chef either initially. You're all just different position chefs. So you could be like the pastry chef, you could be the soup chef, you could be the grill chef. And we use the French names for all of them, but they almost all have very cool, almost fantasy sounding realities to them. And so your powers are kind of derived by that. It'll be probably a PBTA covered in shits fusion hack. And so I'm super excited about that. But then at the end, once you have all the ingredients, you will prepare the meal as a team at the end, and how people respond to it will determine like essentially what payment you get for that adventure. And then you'll be able to advance your kitchen or your crew based on that. So you'll basically be able to earn like you would earn Michelin stars. You'll be able to earn your way up in reputation in the city over time as you compete against these other restaurants. So that's the next.
I will back this project because I love competitive cooking. I like to cook also. I did culinary arts for a couple of years. My dad is a chef. So I am 100% down. That's like a meeting of the worlds on that one for sure.
And so I'm super excited about that. It was really funny. It was kind of like, with you, John, where you were like, I have this idea. I want to make a really gross game. And then we kind of sat down. He was like, I think I want to make a game that has a lot of wordplay, which I'm like, check, because that's a +1 design hallmark. And then he's like, I was thinking maybe like something about like kitchen stuff, but also fantasy. And I was like, cool. Well, let me write out a couple ideas, and this is the one that we landed on, and I'm super excited about that. I will probably do a couple other one-page RPGs in between too.
I want to, I got an idea while doing Zine Quest just because I need there to be more goblin stuff in the world. I'm not really sure what to title it yet. I was thinking Ransacker or something, Goblin Ransack, something like that. But I want to do a game where the players are a cadre of goblin, like, robbers that have staked out their a claim on one stretch of road, and basically there's going to be like a table that you'll generate through rolls to bring different kinds of people that you're going to try and rob. So you're going to be constantly trying to upgrade the area. Like the world comes to you down the road, and you're this group of like Dickensianly poor like goblins, and every time you rob another victim, you like take a thing that can slightly enhance your setup, so that when things come through, like you're trying to XP up your camp.
Yeah.
And also the goblins. But so there isn't really exploration. There's more just like, okay, this time there's like a Triceratops fighter, and like his 3 raptor sidekicks are coming through. Like, how are we going to handle this? Are we going to fight them? Are we going to trap them? Are we going to do this?
Yeah.
I want to do more goblin stuff. More goblins.
Bob says Goblin Tower Defense. Yeah, it's almost got a reverse Road Warrior feel to it. Like, you're not in the car like fighting off bandits. You're bandits trying to like knock down cars. Which I dig. Like, I think it's a really, really, really cool idea. And I like this idea. And we were talking about this right before we went live. I like the idea of a lot more medium weight games playing around in the space that overlaps board games and tabletop games. I think for me, the 3 most important games that we really should be paying attention to this Zine Quest in a lot of ways are Torque, Grasping Nettles, and Coiled Space, because they were games that played somewhere between RPG and board game. Like, if you sat down any of those games in front of a set of board gamers, they would immediately know kind of a little bit more what to do with it, and wouldn't necessarily even think you were saying, let's play a a role-playing game together, even though all 3 of those are role-playing games. And so, and they even span even within that. Like Grasping Nettles is a world-building game, so it's certainly a storytelling game, but it's got a lot of physical mechanics. Torque is like half and half. And then Coiled Space really is leaning more towards that board game side of things. But even Hunted that we were talking about earlier, really it's a solo game, but it's a narrative game. And so you're basically playing a solo RPG through deck prompts to complete this like mission.
Yeah. And different enemies, different weapons, different environments as you move through it. And there's a timed aspect. So you're moving, as time is elapsing, you're moving this little marker down a track. And if you run out of time, that seems to be something that I found with solo games, is that you just have to set a turn limit. Is like the main thing that sort of differentiates like a straight solo game from a role-playing game where there isn't really a set objective. You're just trying to level up and handle problems as they come at you.
Well, the Wretched and Alone solo, like I was talking to Mark and a couple other people, to Matt, sorry, about a couple of this, about this, like they use the Jenga tower, like in the like for solo RPGs, it's like a deck of cards and a Jenga, and like whenever the Jenga tower falls, which it's eventually going to do, even if you solo play it, that's when it's over, right? Like that's when the barbarians raid the sealed temple, or the alien finally catches you, or whatever else, right? So there are a couple other ways, but yeah, you've got to find some way that forces the game to a close at some point in time. And so turn trackers, Jenga towers, like deck of cards, whatever it is, you've got to have some way that people know like this is going to end. What's one thing we each learned this Zine Quest? What's one thing that you learned this Zine Quest?
Looking at the amount of press and notice that Zine Quest picked up in its first week, I wish we had launched on week 1.
Maybe.
I mean, there was a Polygon
because of other reasons.
Well, I think that like, in the running of the bulls, you want to be at the front of the line, right? So I feel like everybody's sort of turning their head at February for Zine Quest popping off and being one of the things that happened in the first week. It just makes sense before people sort of fall into a little bit of a backer fatigue situation, because they want to support Zine Quest. Everybody wants to support smaller creators, and all of these games look amazing. There's a lot of them. I think I ended up backing like 16 or 17 all said and done. And it's like, and I know you've done way more than that, and a lot of other people have, but coming in late, like, I don't know. It just, I'm not saying that people who are launched recently have like a huge problem in front of them. I just feel like launching at the beginning of the month when everybody is like primed for the Zine Quest thing to pop off properly, I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit more momentum there.
Yeah, I think the best time to launch a project is the week before Zine Quest, when everyone's excited about it, and just not have it be a Zine Quest project. Like, I'll be honest, I actually don't think that first week is like, so there is a lot of press, there is a lot of energy, but you got to, there were 200 projects that dropped that week, as opposed to the maybe 50-ish projects that dropped over the subsequent weeks. And so, like, I think our strategy of week 3 actually would have been ideal had there not been a couple other issues that came into play for it. And we didn't lose backers like extensively. So for us, it was fine. I think for a lot of other people, you may be right. And I'm 100% open to the fact that I could be wrong, but I actually think if you really want to succeed, like, seriously, like saying, yeah, it's not a Zine Quest project, it's a zine, but I'm going to launch it like 3 days before February. If that is the most canny and savvy play, because everyone is ready to back. Like making yourself the appetizer to Zine Quest, I think is 100% a cool way to go. Because here's the other thing. You can always then, once it launches, because even a couple other people did this, like Hypagogic Jerks accidentally launched 2 weeks early, but still ended up in the Zine Quest with the Zine Quest tag on it, because they just said, "Hey, I accidentally launched 2 weeks early. Can I still have the tag? Like, there's no way to cancel the campaign," and they gave it to them. Like, So I think there's a lot of different ways you can kind of play around with some of that. But if for me, if anything, I would go like actually right beforehand, where you're like, yeah, I've actually, if we're gonna use the running of the bulls analogy, I've gone down 3 streets, and when they start the running of the bulls, I'm gonna just start running now. From 3 streets ahead. And
Sure.
so one thing I learned during Zine Quest, that I don't, like I said, I think for me the biggest takeaway was I don't know that I ever want to be a primary on a Zine Quest project again. Not because it's not an enjoyable experience, but I'm doing the amount of content that I plan on doing consistently in the future, that we've done this month as well as consistently in the future. I really want that to be my focus during Zine Quest. I think I have a community reputation that lets me launch anytime a zine if I want to and be able to market it and have it be successful. So I don't feel as tied to the time frame. There's also, again, some big questions about with some of the stuff that happened right here at the end for Zine Quest, that I don't want to get too much into it, but like that hurt small creators. I don't think we suffered much from it, if we suffered at all. But there is a choice an individual who is part of the Kickstarter staff made that damaged the reputation, I think, of Kickstarter in the RPG community. Well, I don't think it did. And I'm saying that because I've seen the fallout on Twitter and in Discord and in other places of people basically just saying they don't know if they want to.
To what effect, though, that they're going to put that punishment on a creator that's completely uninvolved in the situation?
No, it's not. So I don't think they're punishing the creator by not backing them right now. I don't think any of that's happening. But the conversation. So if you're a small first-time creator, the noise you have to break through is this noise, right? So like it's at the beginning, it's like, hey, there's all these projects, you have to break through that noise. Later it's like backer fatigue noise you may have to break through. The add-on of backer fatigue plus this project that took a lot of attention away, period, because it was another project to back by a very large name who didn't need to do anything in the Zine Quest if they didn't want to. But then the fact that it became problematic, and that was a bigger conversation, and that is creating a sense of, well, I don't really want to go engage with Facebook or with Kickstarter right now, or I don't want to be on social media because I don't want to have to deal with that. Like all the things that it pushes back on the mentality of creators. I don't think anybody's thought I don't want to give money to this creator, and so I'm not going to back this now. But I think people's willingness to go explore Kickstarter at that moment dropped, and the conversation shifted around to, here's this other project that we're all talking about, and that now that's another piece of noise that a small first-time creator has to break through to get people to talk about their game. And so,
yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like looking at the marketing hustle that has to happen anyway. Me and you both on Facebook, especially, and on Instagram. I mean, I was doing 1-2 posts daily. I usually don't push hard on that for marketing stuff, but when the campaign's live, you get into that mode.
Yeah,
you're in a constant struggle to cut through noise, whether it's from controversy, other people's projects, or just in general. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm just like jaded from being in the indie community for like a year and change, and just seeing like the controversy of the week because somebody spoke out of turn or somebody did some sort of thing with their release, having everybody up in a tizzy for about a week. And then after that, it all disappears. So like,
oh no, like I said, it sucks. It sucks if that's your if that's your final 48 or your first 48. It's just it's a really, which it was the first 48 for about a dozen projects, and they're all smaller projects. And here's the thing, you and I know that, like you and I know how to navigate that and know how to do that and know that reality. A lot of first time creators don't. Like they're coming to the table with some, which I mean, again, that is on them, like to a certain degree.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming in general to be a small first-time creator, but I mean, for what it's worth, I remember Sea of Space Cowboy is done by a mutual friend, a guy who's play tested Token Terrors. I'm not really tight with him, but like he put it up for $500 thinking he would be barely fun, and the guy cleared 2K.
Yeah. It got like, and here's that's the thing. Like we've got it. We're still rolling. It's a little bit lower this year. We're still rolling around a 90% fund rate on Kickstarter. Like, I mean, on Zine Quest. Now again, there's no, I don't think most of that magic is because of Zine Quest. I think most of that magic is because low funding goals mean projects fun. I'd actually be really interested in the delivery rate on those projects also too, because I bet you that they're slower to deliver because it's a lot of first-time creators. That there's other problems that people end up having to eat a lot of costs, things that we can't ever pull the data together for. Like a lot of it's off of Kickstarter, right? But I would be curious about some of those things if there was ever as a way to see that data. But my big thing goes to, if you don't know how to navigate that stuff, the extra noise does hurt. And it hurts, especially when it comes from somebody who is in the Kickstarter, who's on Kickstarter staff. Like, that's the hard thing, yeah. And so, like, again, it's self-awareness. It's not like, I was very clear yesterday. You want to go back and watch this conversation more in depth, go back, watch our stream from yesterday. It was hard. It was a hard thing. But like I said, for me, the desire to not run primary is more about community support and how I come in and help other people, not about anything. But I don't think I functionally need Zine Quest at this point in time to fund a zine. And so I probably won't use it. Like, or if I do, it'll be contributing to a project I'm excited about. Like, if somebody comes to me and says, I really want to work with you on this, it might just be a clarification of, here's what I can offer, but I can't do any more than that, and so, but it just won't be as big of roles.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, yeah, I do think it's interesting though, the mentality that surrounds Zine Quest in general, because I own one copy of a Morkborg thing, and I played D&D for a while, but like just openly acquiring zines on zines was never a thing that I was into until we started working on this project.
And now you gotta catch them all.
Yeah, so I think that like generally like the buzz that surrounds it does help sort of like grease the wheels a little bit for people who are even new, because like you look at we had a guy who interviewed me for his burgeoning and upcoming channel, John Hall, who has been a huge supporter and just like a big cheerleader for Repugnant. And the dude, seriously, like, I remember the first time I saw him was on the RPG Zines group, where he was like, I'm completely new to all of this, but I'm going to start interviewing people because I have a podcast and I think this is really cool. And he's just jumping into the scene, and dude went in headlong and just like swam in it. And it's because of the buzz surrounding Zine Quest. I do think it brings a lot of new people to the hobby, and in general, like I learned a lot and was exposed to a lot more stuff just because of it.
Oh, I think the value is there. So we've got on the 18th, I think it's the first time I'm going at the time formally, on the 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern, we are going to sit down with Anya from Kickstarter Games, with Ben from Panda Theist, and from Jody Simone from Joe being Joe. I'm sure I should actually be attributing to something, but I don't know what off the top of my head. And we're going to do like a retrospective on Zine Quest, have some conversations. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. So if you have like really zinger questions you want,
questions.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, but it'll be a live stream. It'll be community submitted questions. I'll obviously curate what makes it onto the stream. So, because I don't think people should be responsible for having to handle other people's poor choices, or having to say things they can't. Like, there are some things that, because of Anya's position, she can't be like, here's secret data that I'm not supposed to share with anybody, that I'm just going to share on this one random stream. Isn't going to happen. Like, but I also don't want to have to continually hear her say, oh yeah, I really can't share that data. Like, that's just not a fair thing to have somebody on to talk about and do to them. And so same thing for Ben or for Joe. But to talk about like what went well, and I know like this year brought up a lot of big questions that like were jokes before but are now significant frustrations in the community. Why are the rules the way they are? Do they need to stay that way? If we're not enforcing them, why do they matter? Like, and again, I think any answers to those things are fine, but I mean, knowing what the kind of party line is important. So some of those things are on the list, right?
I think the thing is, and I don't expect everybody to understand this when you work in a semi-collaborative, creative endeavor. I've seen this a lot with bros. We set parameters around the duration of performances in smaller shows every single time. They are consistently run over on duration every single time. And the reason you set that parameter is because you want people to shoot for it. And I think that's what they're doing with Zine Quest. They're not going to say these are the rules, and if you break them, your campaign is canceled. Like they can't do that. It's bad for their interest, and putting too harsh of a structure around it is going to make it so people feel pigeonholed, or they might break rules by accident. They're just going to state that that's what they want you to do, and if you stick to it, cool. If not, whatever.
Which I'm totally fine for. I think what people overwhelmingly want right now is clarity on that, and just hearing us, the person who's in charge of that, say, yes, that is the expectation. I think especially, again, we got to go back to, like, it's not you and I, it's the first time creators, right? It's the first time creators who don't know. And it's then avoiding, like, all the conversations in a zine group. Like, is this a zine or not? Does this matter? Look, whatever. Like, yes, it's a zine. Does it meet Zine Quest's format? No. Did they particularly care? Not really, but, like, if you're going to try to do this project, do it this way. Otherwise, just launch during that month, and you're going to do fine. Like, because there's going to be plenty of eyes on, like, Kickstarter that month. And so I think clarity is the only thing. Like, and I think again, hearing that from the person who's in charge of games at Kickstarter is actually really, really helpful in that regard. So, can
we do a zine? I want to do a zine next time that the entire thing is printed on 18 by 22 poster, and then we center fold it and put giant staples in it. So it's a zine that's like this big, like just huge.
Aether Punks is like a 19 by 22 that folds down into like a whatever. There's a couple cool things out right now that are doing some cool stuff. I think my major contribution next year to Zine Quest, I really want to do it. And like, somebody thought this was disgusting when I put it in the zines community. I don't care, because I actually think it's fun, and screw that noise. I want to do a Make 100, and my Make 100 will be about creating a zine that spans 80 to 100 projects on Zine Quest, where I will develop the core mechanics. It'll be like a 2-page printable at home, like centerfold. Anybody can back it for $1 to get that thing, and I'll have a pledge manager up immediately in order for people to be able to just buy it whenever they want to. It'll probably actually just really link to itch afterwards. And then people who spend like $10 or whatever, I don't know what the amount will be, $5, will I'll work with them, and we'll create a prompt that goes at the bottom of their Kickstarter page that is a quest in that solo RPG that we're all doing together across Zine Quest. And that people will go there, and it's not a roll 3d6 to see if you buy this or not, right? It's a like here's an actual prompt that's thematic to this, that you want to see how many of these quests you can accomplish. And I actually think it's fun. Like, originally I was thinking I could just link them directly to your page, but I actually think it's almost more fun if it's like, no, I won't tell you what this is. Like, here's some, like, the quest has some hints in it, and you as an individual kind of have to figure out, is this one or is it not, right? And then, like, on the actual prompt at the bottom, maybe it's got a numbered thing, so you completed that quest when you've done it. But it's just a kind of a cool discovery process as you're running across, and it's one more thing to do on their page, and it is a way to draw eyes to the Zine Quest experience a lot, and even potentially outside of Kickstarter. Somebody's like, I'm doing an itch project during Zine Quest. Great. Like, I'm absolutely down to have you get one of these and put it on your itch or whatever, so I don't know, we'll figure that part out. But like, if I contribute anything, I want to do some cool community thing that's just like, yeah, there's a little bit of money on this, but the money is so, like, I can pay Johnny to do art and layout and everything else. And then, like, advertise a Kickstarter campaign, but it'll just be a Make 100. Like, that'll be it. And so,
I wish you luck.
You're not buying one?
Oh, I'll back it for sure. I don't know if I'll have the time to actually go around cruising from page to page trying to complete quests.
I don't think the concept is that anybody should do all of them. I think it's fun.
Sure, it is. What else are you supposed to do?
It is, like, but I don't think the idea is that you have to in order for it to be successful. I just think it's actually more like a fun keepsake, memento-y yearbook that when I go to a page, maybe I back, maybe I don't, but it's another reason to be engaged, and it's a fun way to draw in the theme of other people's games and do a bunch of weird little quests in a weird little world. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a fun community thing. I mean, it'll probably have like a $50 funding goal. Like, I'm not super concerned about like whether it does well or not.
Yeah, the tricky stuff with things like that though is that with 300 projects launching on Kickstarter for Zine Quest, and you can only fit 100 inside of your thing.
Yeah, but that means you have to know about it. You have to discover it. Like, I think offering 1/3 is fine. And then we can even open source it. Like, just say, hey, we did 100, right? If you really want in on this, here is the format, here is the sheet, here are the graphics, and if you want to put one at the bottom of your page, people can print off another sheet, and anybody can do this, right? Like, we are going to point people at the 100 of these that gave us $5 or whatever, right?
Sure.
But anybody can do this. Like, you can do it for free if you want to. And it may even be that it's the whatever the 100 spots are, maybe a pay what you want level. If I can limit a pay what you want level, I don't think I can.
Well, you got some time.
Yeah,
I got some time for my Goblin game. You got some time for your
my dumb meta commentary on Zine Quest as a gamified experience itself. Yes, I have time to figure out that dumb idea and offend an X number of people with the idea before we get to that point.
Sure.
So all right.
Yeah, I updated all the aesthetic stuff to the landing page. If you go to the campaign, it says Pledge Manager coming soon, which is true. If you actually, I don't know if you're looking at the page. If you refresh it, all of the
I just refreshed
stuff.
it. Ooh, I like that.
There you go. So right now, if you click that button, it just takes you back to the Kickstarter page, which is where you already are. So it doesn't do anything. But we'll come in and edit that and drop in a hot link so that when you click that button, it'll take you directly to Pledge Manager for anybody who might be watching. And we'll send out a thing to the next update for our backers will probably be a thank you and some info on that. And that's it. We're a wrap on Repugnant. Everything is covered in boogers, and I'm excited to get this thing out into the world, man.
Yeah. And actually we'll probably update, like, whenever we cross that actual 5K mark, we'll come back and we'll pop that zip for anybody who's worried about it still festering. And I'll say this.
That stuff is done.
Yeah.
We can't change we can't change anything on the Kickstarter page.
On the story, I thought you could.
Nope.
Oh, interesting. I feel like I thought, oh no, you can just change the top part now.
Yeah, that's why this top part exists, because for the longest time, people would have to do this, like, in the last 10 minutes of their campaign before it closed. They would change a bunch of graphics,
do a bunch of stuff.
Story. Yeah, to make it so that, like, it would live on in perpetuity as basically a sales, it would help them make more sales. They would change everything, but now you don't have to do that because they got the top of page thing. So, but the page remains intact. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I'm excited about it.
That was the other thing we should have done. That Repugnant Mug initiative should have been from day one. Also, if we had done that from the beginning, it might have actually worked. It might have done something.
We should have had you do some streams where you were just doing art. We should have had, a couple more things planned that were just a little bit more about pushing it. I wish we would have had 2 actual plays, ready to go with that. A couple of things. You live, you learn, you get loves.
Yep.
And but dude, I just noticed the spatula in this dude's hand. Like, that's one of the things I love about your art, is just like the ability to see new things in it all the time.
He's using it as like a wand.
Yeah, no, I love it
for his smellomancy.
I love it. And so
nobody talks about the fart balloon dirigible goblin up at the top. Like, he's filling up a giant balloon with farts and flying around inside of a bathtub. I think that's super cool. I
didn't know that I had processed that's what was happening yet.
There needs to be a bunch of globlins. Our version of goblins, they're called globlins because they're like covered in mucus and they have drippy noses. They're always sniffing all the time, but they fill up fart dirigibles.
Man, that's awesome.
Watch out for fart dirigibles, everybody.
Oh, somebody did ask me a question the other day that I didn't know how to answer for sure.
Yeah.
We don't have it on there. Is the fart from, I don't know if it's a globlin or not, is the fart on the dice bag, is that like grasping? Is he grasping the sword with his fart, or is it just going out around it?
Yeah, he's about to grab it with thick fart action.
Excellent. I said, I don't know. It looks like it. You got to play the game to find out.
Smellomancy can definitely have like the molecular density in a fart in order for it to manipulate physical objects. That's certainly a thing.
Fart fist absolutely demonstrates the thickness of that, because it is a literal fist comes out of your butt and punches someone, and so.
The relatability of RP in this game is its strongest attribute. I'm telling you. people they don't have to stretch the imagination to understand the things that are happening
No.
in the role play experience. They have
Yeah.
experienced many of these things in real life.
Yeah. There's I've got a I need, the only other thing I think I need from you is, there is one other art thing we have to fix. We'll talk about this afterwards on stream, off stream.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody who's still with us, or who's just forgotten to turn off their browser. We had a blast. Thanks for joining us as we finish things up.
Thank you times a million. You guys are great.
We'll see